I kissed him to see if there was still a spark. She admitted about her ex, keep checking. I said and left. 6 months later, she drunk, texted me at 200 AM that he's cheating again. I didn't respond. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. The scent of seared scallops and lemon butter sauce filled the apartment. A fragrance I'd carefully curated for our anniversary. Not the big official one, but the one that mattered more to me. 3 years since our first date. The one where I'd been so nervous I'd spilled my beer on her shoe and she'd laughed instead of getting angry. I'd known then. Gizmo wounded himself between my ankles. A living, purring trip hazard. I know, buddy. I murmured, nudging him gently aside with my foot. She'll be home soon. I'd set the small table by the window with the good linens, the ones we'd registered for as a joke but now used for real occasions. A single candle flickered, casting dancing shadows across the room we'd built together. This apartment, with its bookshelves stuffed with our commingled paperbacks and the faint scratch on the floor from when we tried to move the sofa ourselves, was more than a rental. It was a prototype of our future, and in my desk drawer, hidden beneath a stack of old tax returns, was a small velvet box. The timeline for that was moving up soon. The key turned in the lock, and my heart did its usual stupid little leap. Chloe stepped in, looking tired but beautiful. Her blonde hair pulled back in a messy bun. Something smells incredible, she said, dropping her bag by the door. She offered a smile, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Work stress, probably. Her new marketing job was a grind. Just a little something for my favorite person, I said, crossing the room to kiss her. She accepted it, but her posture was stiff. Tough day, she sighed, sliding onto a stool at the kitchen island. You have no idea. Just constant demain. No appreciation. I'm exhausted. Leo. I poured her a glass of the Sauvignon Blanc. I'd chilled well. You're here now. No demain. Just good food, good wine, and me, whatever you need. You know I'm here. She took a long sip of wine, her eyes avoiding mine. I know. We ate. The conversation was stilted, peppered with long silences. I kept trying to fill. I told her about finally debugging the nightmare code that had plagued my project all week. She nodded, but I could tell she wasn't really listening. Is everything okay? Chloe? Really? It's fine. She said a little too quickly. Just a lot on my mind. I let it go. I was the steady one. The rock. My job was to provide a calm harbor, not to stir up waves. After dinner, we cleared the plates in a quiet, companionable rhythm, or what I thought was companionable. I was washing, she was drying, the way we always did. Then she put down the towel, her hands were trembling. Leo, she said, her voice small, we need to talk. The 4 words that turn your blood to ice. I placed the last wine glass carefully in the drying rack and turned to face her. Leaning against the sink, my heart, a frantic drum against my ribs. Okay, I said, my voice deceptively calm. Talk. She took a shaky breath, her gaze fixed on a point somewhere over my shoulder. I saw Mark today. The air left my lungs. Mark? Her ex. The one who'd broken her heart 2 years before we met. The musician with the trust fund and the reputation for being intense. The one I'd spent countless nights holding her while she cried about. Okay. I repeated the word, feeling, hollow. Where, it was an accident at that coffee shop on Elm Street. He was just there. My mind was racing, trying to find the innocent path. The one where this was just a weird coincidence. I couldn't find it. We started talking. She continued, her words starting to tumble out faster. Now, like she needed to get them out before her courage failed. And it was like no time had passed. The chemistry was just there. Chloe, I warned, a cold dread seeping into my bones. He walked me to my car. He tried to kiss me. She finally looked at me, and her eyes were wide, almost pleading, but not with remorse, with a need for understanding, for justification. And I let him The world tilted, the cozy apartment, the candlelight, the future in the desk drawer, it all curdled, turning cheap and fake. What? The word was a whisper torn from a place of pure, uncomprehending hurt. I know how it sounds, but it wasn't like that. She took a step toward me, her hands out, beseeching. I kissed him back to see if there was still a spark. There it was. The sentence, it hung in the air between us. So profoundly stupid and cruel that I couldn't even process it. She had taken our entire life, every shared secret, every plan, tomorrow, and used it as kindling for a experiment. And there was Leo. She whispered, her eyes welling with tears, now self-pitying tears. A little one. I'm so confused. I think I need some space to figure my feelings out. Space. She needed space to figure out if the spark with the man who had shattered her was worth more than the steady, warming fire I had spent 3 years building for us. I didn't yell. I didn't slam my fist on the counter. I didn't cry. A profound, eerie calm settled over me. The pain was there. A white hot brand on my soul. But it was buried under a glacier of clarity. This person standing in front of me was not the woman I loved. That woman was a fiction. I looked at her, my gaze steady, taking in every detail of her face, memorizing the moment the mask fell away. I took a slow, deliberate breath. Keep checking. I said the words were flat, final, and utterly devoid of emotion. They weren't a challenge. They were a dismissal. Her face crumpled in confusion. What? I didn't elaborate. I turned and walked toward our bedroom. Where are you going? She demanded. Her voice rising with panic. She followed me. Aren't we going to talk about this? Fight for us. I pulled my old duffel bag from the top of the closet and began to methodically pack laptop, charger, passport, a few days worth of clothes from the drawers. What are you doing? She shrieked. I zipped the bag shut and slung it over my shoulder. I looked at her standing in the doorway of the room we shared, and I felt nothing but a vast, empty distance. There's nothing to fight for. I said, my voice cold and detached. You just told me I'm an option in my own relationship. The conversation is over. I walked past her through the living room, where the candles still flickered over the ruins of our anniversary dinner. Gizmo meowed from the couch. I scooped him up, grabbed his carrier and a bag of food from the pantry. Leo, please. You can't just leave. I was at the front door, my hand on the knob. I didn't turn around. Watch me. I opened the door and stepped out into the cool night air, closing it behind me with a soft, definitive click, the sound of a chapter ending. The hotel room was a sterile baiser. It smelled of artificial citrus and vacuum dust. I sat on the edge of the king-size bed. Gizmo curled in a confused ball on the pillow beside me and stared at the generic landscape painting on the wall. The silence was a physical presence, thick and heavy, broken only by the hum of the mini fridge. The calm that carried me out of the apartment evaporated, leaving a raw, screaming void. A spark. She kissed him to see if there was a spark. The words played on a loop in my head. Each repetition, a fresh twist of the knife. It was the casualness of it that gutted me. Our entire life together reduced to a scientific experiment, and I was the control group that had failed. I thought of the first time she told me about Mark. We'd been curled on that same couch I'd just left, and she'd cried into my shirt telling me how he ghosted her after a year, how he told her she was too clingy. It held her. My anger at this faceless man, a white-hot coal in my chest. I promised myself I would never make her feel that way. The irony was so perfect, it was cruel. She'd run back to the source of her pain and set me on fire to keep herself warm. I didn't cry. The hurt was too deep for tears. The man who had believed in that future was gone. The one left in this beige room had to figure out what to build from the rubble. The first thing I did was block her on my phone, on social media, on everything. It wasn't a gesture of anger. It was three of... I was severing a necrotic limb to save the rest of the body. I sent one text to my boss. David, family emergency. Need to work remotely for the rest of the week. Can handle the Jenkins account from here. He replied immediately. Take the time you need. We've got you covered. No questions. I was lucky. The next morning, I woke up at dawn. The city's still quiet outside my window. I put on my running shoes. The the same ones I'd worn for 3 years, always meaning to start this habit. And I ran. I ran until my lungs burned and my legs turned to jelly, punishing my body so it would be as tired as my mind. The physical pain was a clean, simple thing. It was a problem with a solution. Keep putting one foot in front of the other. Breathe. That became the pattern. Wake. Run. Work from the hotel desk. Losing myself in lines of code that obeyed logic, that behaved predictably. Eat a solitary meal. Sleep. I was a ghost in my own life, but I was a ghost that was learning to move through walls. After a week, I called Mike, my oldest friend, Leo. What's up? Man, you never call during the day. Chloe and I are done. I said, my voice flat, a beat of silence. What happened? Dude, are you okay? I gave him the Cliff's Notes version, the coffee shop, the kiss, the spark. He let out a low whistle. You have got to be kidding me. That is... Wow. That is profoundly stupid. What did you do? He left. I'm at the Riverview Suites. Good. Mike said, his voice firm. You pack a bag. Yeah. You block her. Yeah. Then you're already winning. She's an idiot. Leo. A pretty charming idiot, but an idiot nonetheless. You were the best thing that ever happened to her. The words were a bomb, but they couldn't heal the wound. Only time could do that. I started apartment hunting, not for a place for us, but for a place for me. I found a modern 1-bedroom in a new building across town with floor-to-ceiling windows and a concrete balcony. It was minimalist, clean, and held no memories. I signed the lease the same day. Moving in was a ritual of rebirth. Every piece of furniture I chose, every book I placed on the shelf was a declaration of independence. I bought a new, ridiculously expensive coffee maker. I hung a guitar on the wall, the one I hadn't touched since college. The silence in this new place wasn't deafening. It was peaceful. It was mine. My internal voice began to change. The confused, wounded echo was fading, replaced by something clearer, quieter. I wasn't happy, not yet, but I was present. I was building a life brick by brick. And for the first time in a long time, I was the only architect. The news of the unraveling came, as it often does, through Mike. He'd become my reluctant, unofficial intelligence agency, feeding me information I never asked for, but that he felt I needed. It started about 2 months after I'd left. Mike heard from Sarah. Apparently Chloe moved in with Mark like a week after you left. Whirlwind romance. I was assembling a new IKEA bookshelf. I read the text, put the phone down, and found a right-sized Allen key. I felt nothing. It was just data. A month later, another update. Mike. So, the fairy tale might be hitting some snags. Mark got let go from his gig at the record label. Apparently, he had a disagreement with the boss about his artistic integrity. Reed. He's unemployed. I was at the gym, resting between sets. I grunted, wiped the sweat from my brow, and moved to the next machine. His failure was not my victory. It was just noise. The final piece of the puzzle came another month after that. Mike and I were having a beer on my new balcony, watching the city lights wink on. So, full report from the front lines. He said, taking a long pull from his bottle, "It's not good over there." I just waited. I'd learned that silence often prompted more information than questions. Mark's not looking for work. He's focusing on his music, which means he's playing video games all day and living off what's left of his trust fund. They're fighting a lot. Sarah ran into Chloe at the store and said she looked rough. Like hasn't slept in a week rough. I took a sip of my beer. The citrus hops tasted clean. Crisp. Okay. Mike looked at me. His expression, a mix of pity and admiration. That's it. Okay. Dude, this is textbook karma. She left you for stability and ran headfirst into a train wreck. I looked out over the skyline. My city, my view, it's not karma. Mike, it's cause and effect. She made a choice based on a feeling, not on character. She confused drama for passion. This was the only way it was ever going to end. He shook his head. You're ice cold. Man, I'd be throwing a party. I'm not cold. I said, and I meant it. I'm just elsewhere. Their drama is their problem. I have my own life to build. And I did. The chapter was closed. The fire she'd gone looking for had turned out to be a flash in the pan, already burning itself out. Meanwhile, the embers of my own life were glowing, steady, and warm, ready to be stoked into something new. The peace of my new life was a fortress, and I was its sole, contented guardian 6 months to the day after I'd walked out. The first assault on its walls came, it was a Tuesday, 2.07 am. The buzz of my phone on the nightstand was an alien sound in the deep, consistent silence of my sleep. I fumbled for it. The screen's blue light was harsh in the dark, an unknown number. A string of messages piling up, one after the other, the punctuation and spelling casualties of whatever bar she was in. Unknown number, 207 am. Leo, I know I shouldn't be texting you, but I'm so alone. Unknown number 208 am. He's a monster. He's cheating on me at the bar right now with some girl. I saw him with my own eyes. Unknown number 209 am. I left you for him, and he's doing the exact same thing to me that he did before. The irony is, killing me. Unknown number 210 am. I miss you. I miss our apartment. Imish Gizmo, you were the only good thing I ever had, and I was so stupid. Unknown number 211 am. Please answer me. Just tell me I'm not the worst person in the world. Please. I read them once, the words, drenched in self-pity and vodka. Didn't spark anger or even satisfaction. They were just words. The frantic, flailing signals of a sinking ship. And I was safe on a distant shore. I felt a distant, academic recognition of the poetic justice. The spark she'd chosen had indeed been a fire, and it had burned her life down. But I felt no urge to throw water on it. My thumb moved with a calm, decisive finality. I selected the entire thread and tapped delete. Then I blocked the number. I placed the phone back on the nightstand, rolled over, and was asleep again in minutes. My piece was unreachable. The silence held for a week. Then my phone buzzed during my workday, a voicemail. I let it go to transcription. The automated text appeared on my screen. Leo, dear, it's Carol. I'm so sorry to bother you. I know Chloe hurt you, but she's really in a bad way. That man is awful. He's gone now. Cleaned out her savings. She's learned her lesson. The poor thing, she's truly sorry. Could you just call her just a 5-minute conversation? She's destroying herself. We're all very worried. I deleted the voicemail. Carol had always been sweet, but she was an enabler, forever cleaning up her daughter's messes. I was not going to be part of the cleanup crew. The poor thing had made a choice, and choices, I had learned, have consequences. The final attempt was a public play. I was in the cereal aisle of the grocery store, comparing fiber content, a mundane task that symbolized my new, orderly existence. I felt a presence behind me before I heard her voice. Leo. I turned. Chloe stood there, clutching a half-empty basket containing a saddle-looking pre-made salad and a bottle of cheap wine. She looked years older. The light in her eyes was gone, replaced by a hollow exhaustion. Her clothes were rumpled, a far cry from the put-together woman I'd cooked scallops for. You got my text? She said, her voice trembling, You didn't answer. I placed the high-fiber cereal in my cart. I did? Her face contorted in confusion. What does that mean? You read it and just ignored me? I met hergeze. My own was calm, clear, empty of the love and hurt that had once lived there. Yes. The word, so simple and direct, seemed to physically strike her. She took a half step back. After everything I'm going through, after what he did to me, how can you be so cold? I was vulnerable. This was the true colours. The anger Mike had predicted, the tears were gone, replaced by a petulant, entitled fury that I had failed to manage her emotional fallout. I didn't engage. I didn't explain. I used the realist script, my tone flat and definitive. Chluwe, you made a choice. You tested your spark and got burnt. My part in your story ended 6 months ago. She stared at me, her mouth slightly agape, searching my face for any crack. Any flicker of the old Leo who would have folded, who would have comforted her, she found nothing. I was a closed door. I hope you figure things out. I said the words, not unkind, but utterly detached. But that has nothing to do with me. I turned my car and walked down the aisle. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I could feel her presence behind me shrinking, becoming insignificant with every step I took. The power wasn't in a dramatic speech or a well-timed insult. It was in the simple, unassailable act of walking away again. Later that week, Saturday morning sunlight streamed into my apartment, painting golden rectangles on the clean hardwood floor. Gizmo was a puddle of fur in the warmest spot. His purr, a contented motor. I was on the balcony, phone to my ear, laughing easily at something Sarah was saying. We had a date that night to see a band at a small club. It was easy. It was light. I used to think her 200A text would be a moment of victory. But when it came, it wasn't. It was just noise. The real victory was this silence, this peace. I didn't need to say a word to her. My life, thriving and complete without her in it, was the only response that ever mattered. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.